I want to ask you something. When was the last time you went into your guest bedroom? Not to drop something off, not to grab something from the closet. I mean, actually went in, turned on the light, looked around, checked the bed. If you are like most people who have a guest room, the answer is probably a while. Maybe the last time someone stayed over, maybe longer. That room exists at the edge of your daily life. You pass the door, you might open it once in a while, but you do not inhabit it. It is not part of your routine, and that is exactly what makes it vulnerable. I own a 3-bedroom house in Raleigh, North Carolina. I've owned it for 6 years. I live alone, have since my divorce 4 years ago. The master bedroom is mine. The second bedroom is my home office. The third bedroom is the guest room. A full bed, a dresser, a closet, and a window that looks out onto my backyard. I use that room maybe 4 times a year, when my sister visits, when a friend is in town. Otherwise, the door stays closed, and I walk past it the way you walk past any room that does not need your attention. I walked past it for almost 2 months. And for almost 2 months, while I went about my life, worked from my office 20 feet away, cooked in my kitchen, slept in my bedroom, someone was using that guest room. Not occasionally, regularly. Someone had been sleeping in my guest bedroom, and I had no idea. This is what happened when I finally opened that door.
Let me tell you about my house before I tell you about what I found. The house is a 1990s build. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a single-car garage, a fenced backyard. Standard Raleigh suburban house. Nothing remarkable about it, except that I love it and it is mine. And after my divorce, it was the first truly stable thing in my life. I replaced all the locks when I moved back in after the divorce. New deadbolts on every exterior door. I am someone who checks the doors before bed every night. I am not careless about security. The guest bedroom window was the problem. It was installed wrong. This is something I knew about. The previous owner had told me during the inspection, had disclosed as a known issue. The latch latched, but the latch did not catch properly. You could close the window and it would look and feel locked, but with the right pressure at the right angle, it would give. I had been meaning to fix it for 6 years. I had not fixed it. In September of last year, my sister came to visit for a long weekend. She stayed in the guest room. I changed the sheets, put out fresh towels, aired the room out. She left on a Monday morning. I stripped the bed after she left, washed the sheets, put them back on, closed the door. I did not go back into that room until almost the 1st of November. And what I found when I opened that door on a Sunday evening in early November is something I have thought about almost every day since. I opened the guest bedroom door on a Sunday evening because I was looking for a specific book. I had a vague memory of putting it in the guest room closet during a cleaning session months earlier. It did not occur to me that anything would be different from how I had left the room in September. I pushed the door open and reached for the light switch, and I stopped. The room looked almost exactly as I had left it. Almost. The bedspread was on, the pillows were in place, the dresser was clear, or nearly clear, but something was wrong, and it took me a moment to identify what. The bed had been slept in. Not dramatically, not unmade, not sheets pulled out, but the bedspread had a quality to it that a bed that has not been used in 2 months does not have. A slight unevenness in the surface, a depression in the center of the mattress, visible through the spread, as if weight had been there recently. The pillow on the right side slightly compressed in a way that matched the shape of a head. And on the dresser, a water glass. I had not left a water glass in that room. I had not put a water glass in that room. I stood in the doorway and I looked at that water glass for a very long time.
Then I walked to the window. The latch was in the closed position, but when I put my thumb against the bottom of the window frame and pressed, it gave. Half an inch, enough to confirm what I already suspected. I walked out of the guest room, out of the hallway, and I sat down on my kitchen floor, because that is where my legs decided to stop working. I sat on my kitchen floor for probably 10 minutes. I was running through the timeline. My sister had left in September. I had remade the bed in September. I had not been in that room since September. It was now early November. 2 months. Someone had been using my guest bedroom for potentially 2 months, or less. I could not know exactly when it started. What I knew was that the bed showed signs of recent use. The water glass was not something I had left. The window had been accessed. I thought about the past 2 months of my life. I work from home. I am in my home most of the day. I am in my home office, which is the bedroom between my master bedroom and the guest room, for most of my working hours. Someone had been sleeping 20 feet from where I worked. 20 feet. I had been home, working, making coffee, cooking dinner, watching television in the evenings, and 20 feet away, behind a closed door, someone had made a bed in my house and been using it. I picked up my phone and I called 911. Then I did something that I think in retrospect was probably foolish, but that I cannot fully regret because of what it showed me. I waited for the police on my front porch, but before I went out there, I did a single fast walkthrough of every room in my house: bedroom, office, living room, kitchen, bathrooms, basement. I needed to know if someone was in the house right now. No one was. But in the basement, in the utility area near the water heater, I found something that told me more than the bedroom had. In the corner, behind the water heater, a space maybe 3 feet wide, not visible from the basement stairs, the kind of space that exists in older houses and that no one ever thinks about, there was a folded blanket, a paperback book face down to hold the place, a bookmark made from a piece of torn paper tucked into it, 2 empty water bottles, and a flashlight. A small flashlight, the kind that runs on 2 AA batteries, not turned on, sitting beside the water bottles. I backed away from that corner, and I went upstairs, and I went out my front door, and I sat on my porch steps, and I did not go back inside until 2 police officers arrived 12 minutes later. The officers searched the house. No one was there. No one in any room, any closet, the attic, the crawl space, the basement. But they found what I had found, the guest room and the basement corner, and they photographed everything. One of the officers, a woman named Officer Delaney, asked me a question that I had not yet thought to ask myself. She said, "Do you have any idea how long this has been going on?" I said I did not. I said the last time I had been in the guest room was September, when my sister visited. She said, "The blanket in the basement, the book with the bookmark, these suggest regular return, someone who has been coming back repeatedly. This is not a one-time shelter situation." I asked what she meant by one-time shelter. She said, "Sometimes people find an accessible space, a garage, a basement, an unlocked room, and use it once during bad weather or in a crisis. That is one thing. What you are describing suggests a pattern, someone who knows your schedule well enough to come and go without being detected, someone who knows you well enough to know when you are not going to open that door." The investigation that followed took several weeks. The window was examined for fingerprints, the exterior sill and the interior latch. Several prints were found. They did not match anyone in the database. The blanket and the book were taken as evidence. The book was a paperback thriller, the kind you can buy at any grocery store, nothing unusual. The blanket was generic, purchased somewhere like Walmart or Target, no distinguishing features. The water bottles were standard plastic bottles, the grocery store brand that comes in bulk packs. Nothing that pointed clearly to a specific person. The detective assigned to the case, a man named Detective Rowan, told me that cases like mine were more common than people realized and were among the most difficult to resolve. Without surveillance footage, without a witness, without forensic evidence that matched a known person, the investigation was limited to canvassing neighbors and reviewing any external camera footage from houses nearby. He asked me about the people in my life who would know my patterns, who would know I rarely opened the guest room, who would know I worked from home on a schedule, who would know about the window. I thought about that for a long time. The faulty window was not secret. I had mentioned it to people. To my ex-husband during the divorce proceedings. To my contractor friend who I had asked about it and who had told me I needed to replace the whole frame. To my neighbor in passing once. But of those people, who would have done this? Who would have come into my home repeatedly and slept in my guest room and sat behind my water heater in the dark? I did not have an answer. I still do not have an answer. The case is open. There have been no further incidents since I had the window frame replaced. I did it the week after the police came. Emergency appointment, same week. New locks on everything while I was at it. But the question that Detective Rowan asked has never fully left me. Who knew you well enough to know you were not going to open that door?
I want to tell you about the week after the police came, because I think it is important, and I think it is something that does not get talked about when people share stories like mine. I could not sleep in my house. I do not mean I had trouble sleeping. I mean I could not sleep there. I tried the first night. I lay in my bedroom with every light in the house on, chain lock on the front door, the guest bedroom door open so I could see the hallway outside my bedroom. I lay there for 4 hours, and my nervous system refused to let go. I called my sister at midnight. She lives 40 minutes away. She came and got me, and I stayed at her house for 11 days. 11 days. I am someone who has owned this house for 6 years and loved it, who has lived alone comfortably for 4 years and never felt unsafe in my own space. 11 days I could not make myself sleep there. When I finally came back, new window, new locks, 2 new cameras, a motion sensor alarm on the guest bedroom door, I walked through every room first, every closet, under both beds, the attic, the basement, every corner behind every piece of furniture. It took 45 minutes. I did the same thing the next night and the night after that. I do not do it every night anymore, but I still do it, probably 3 nights a week. Because here's what I understand now that I did not understand before. A house is not just walls and locks and windows. A house is the assumption of control, the assumption that you know who has been in your space and who has not. The assumption that when you close a door and walk away from it, that space remains yours. Someone entered my house and moved through it with enough comfort and enough knowledge of my routine that they slept in my guest room and sat behind my water heater and read a book by flashlight and came back repeatedly, and I did not know. The assumption that the house is yours, only yours, is something I had never questioned before. I question it now, every single day.
I'm going to tell you the things I want you to do after you finish listening to this. The first thing is the guest room. Go into it tonight. Turn on the light. Look at the bed. Pull back the covers and look at the sheets. Check the pillow. Look at every surface, every dresser top, every windowsill, every corner. Look for anything that should not be there. A glass, a book, an item of clothing, a phone charger, anything. The second thing is every window in your house. Go to every window and test every latch. Not just check it visually. Put your hand on the frame and press. A latch that is visually closed can be physically open. I knew my window was faulty. I had known for 6 years. I had not fixed it. Fix it. The third thing is the spaces in your house that you do not use regularly. A basement corner, a storage room, a garage space behind boxes, a crawl space access panel that you have not looked at in years. These are the spaces that a person looking for shelter or access will find before you do. Check them. The fourth thing is this. Detective Rowan asked me who knew my patterns well enough to know I would not open that door. That question applies to you too. Who in your life knows your routine, knows which rooms you use and which you do not, knows about a faulty window or an unmonitored entry point? Think about that. And if you have a guest room or a basement or a storage space or any room in your home that you do not enter regularly, go open that door right now, tonight, before you go to sleep. Because the most terrifying thing about what happened to me is not that it happened. It is that it happened for 2 months while I was home, and I never knew.